The mystery about the origin of the child, best known as Baby Yoda, is one of the things that has been on the back of our minds since the very first episode of The Mandalorian. The series still hasn't explained anything about his origins, or how he has such a strong connection with the Force, and that keeps us starving for new information about the fandom's favorite baby. In this video, we're going to try to explain how the child came to be, and how his probable origin connects him to the real villain of the whole saga, Palpatine himself. There's a very good chance that the old Sith Lord could make an appearance in future seasons. So if you want to know what could be hiding behind our little green friend, and how he could affect the story, stay tuned to Mandalorian Universe. The Rise of Skywalker revealed that the saga was not yet finished with Palpatine. He is an iconic villain that managed to manipulate the Jedi in order to take control of the Senate, although later he would perish at the hands of his own apprentice, Darth Vader, previously known as Anakin Skywalker. The thing is, he somehow cheated death, and this is where the secret about Baby Yoda could be hiding. The very first thing we need to understand is how Darth Sidious survived. In The Rise of Skywalker, Palpatine was still alive and was connected to some kind of machine. His physical appearance had deteriorated to a point where he looked more like an undead version of himself. He barely resembled the old Sith Lord from the past. Instead, we saw a creepier version of his old visage. The movie doesn't explain much about his survival, but a few clues were given. When Kylo Ren manages to meet with Palpatine, it is revealed that Palpatine was the one who created Snoke at that very place, which gives us the impression that the old Sith Lord had cloned himself as a backup plan in case the retaliation with Vader turned sour. This backup plan was confirmed in the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker, and the revelation is something incredible. It seems he was always one step ahead of everybody. He had multiple failsafes in case one of his evil schemes failed, or if something happened to him in the middle of his search for power and conquest. Can you guess what was one of those backup plans? If you thought about Rey sharing Palpatine's lineage, then you were correct. This is the reason why she could Force connect with the Emperor the same way she did with Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens. And this connection was the thing that let her see how Sidious escaped from certain death. Palpatine murdered his own master, Darth Plagueis, in his apprentice days. And it was easily done because Plagueis let his guard down and didn't have a backup plan. That was his fatal mistake. A mistake that Sidious was not going to make. After he was betrayed by Darth Vader, being thrown into a chasm, while he was falling, Palpatine mustered all of his powers and knowledge of the dark side of the Force and basically teleported his consciousness to another location. All of his energy was stored in a clone, albeit an imperfect one. After that, Palpatine's followers worked tirelessly, conducting many experiments in search of a clone, one that could be better suited for their master. A body that could hold Palpatine's consciousness and power without falling apart, giving him the chance to live again at full strength. That body was one Rey Skywalker. Palpatine's plan for Rey was to take her body as his new shell, so he could be completely restored, alive and functional again. But as we all know, that plan failed when Rey defeated him. We know that is a lot of information to process, but it is the key to understanding the origins of Baby Yoda. Palpatine has always been prolific in the development of clones. He has been working on that process since his days of ruling the Republic. It is possible that even before that, Palpatine was already looking for ways to extend his own life by conducting studies about how he could create the perfect clone for himself, one that could make him even more powerful than he already was. Snoke is an example of one of those cloning ventures. He was not a perfect Palpatine clone, but he was very powerful and in tune with the Force, thus proving that Sidious knew how to make beings that were strong with the Force, especially with the dark side of it. All of this brings us to the child, whose nickname probably shouldn't be Baby Yoda, although seeing how Palpatine works, he could very well be a young clone of the famous Jedi Master. We now know that Palpatine was hard at work, searching for a way to unlock the secrets of immortality. He tried to create perfect clones, and he created vessels that were already strong with the dark side of the Force. If we add Master Yoda into the equation, we can take into account that Palpatine already knew how powerful Yoda was since he fought him in Episode 3. He knew that the Jedi Master had great understanding of the Force, and that those abilities are in part biological. based on his high metachlorian count, an occurrence that also happened with Anakin. If at some point Sidious was trying to create powerful soldiers to add to his ranks, he could have experimented by making clones of powerful Force users with a better biological disposition. He may have been trying to do this, even though it proved to be problematic at times, like what happened with Snoke and his own imperfect clone. In the case of Master Yoda, Palpatine may have researched how Yoda's race lives for long periods of time. We see that baby Yoda is an infant, but it is believed that he is already 50 years old during the events of the series, so this could be a valid reason for Sidious to take interest in Yoda and attempt to clone him. All of this information serves as the background for a simple premise that tries to explain the child's origin. Baby Yoda could be a clone of Master Yoda. If Palpatine somehow got a hold of Master Yoda's DNA, he could have begun experimenting with it, and the end result could have been a baby version of Yoda. The child has a very good connection with the Force for his age, just like it was with young Anakin, so it is a plausible scenario. The interesting thing is that if we compare baby Yoda with young Anakin Skywalker, the baby does show some dominance of the dark side of the Force, and this means he could be a hybrid between Master Yoda and Palpatine himself. Maybe you're thinking that the dark side of the Force isn't something that anybody can acquire genetically, but think about Rey. She was able to use various dark side abilities, like Force Lightning, even without any intention to do so. She just used it, as if she already had the dark side within her, because of her being Palpatine's granddaughter. The same thing could be happening to baby Yoda if he shared Palpatine's blood, and that would make him the perfect vessel for the Emperor, the one he has been looking for a very long time. Many of you might be thinking that this theory is bogus, because baby Yoda is already 50 years old, which means he would have been born by the time Palpatine was still a politician. But this doesn't necessarily have to be the case, because by that time, Palpatine was already working with Plagueis to find a way to reach immortality, and the result of one of those early experiments could have been this child. It is also possible that even though the baby resembles Yoda's race, he doesn't age at the exact rate as they do, meaning that he could literally be a baby and not 50 years old. All of this can explain why the child is so important and why so many scientists are interested in him. He may very well be that vessel that Palpatine desires, and that is why many people have experimented on him over time, observing it and making sure it is what Sidious needs. Over the events of the series, Palpatine is said to be in the unknown regions, still doing experiments with his followers. Ahsoka and Ezra are also in this region, and this may be the reason for their return. Ahsoka's appearance has been confirmed in the next season of The Mandalorian, so maybe she discovers Palpatine's plans and decides to come back to guide and protect the child. If this theory is correct, Palpatine could be the main villain of the series, and we could be seeing the beginnings of Snoke and the New Order. It may be too early to speculate on the future of The Mandalorian, but we are surely to see some of these topics in the coming season. Who knows? Maybe this season will end with Ahsoka telling the Mandalorian about Palpatine's plan and the true nature of the child. But all we can do for now is theorize. But what about you? Do you believe that baby Yoda is a clone of Master Yoda with Palpatine's DNA mixed within? Is this how the Sith Lord plans to come back to life by using it as a vessel? Or do you think that there is another explanation? And please don't forget, subscribe to our new channel, Mandalorian Universe.